Welcome to Introspection, the podcast about moving from grief to growth. I'm Amy Lindner-Lesser, your host. Introspection started out as a podcast about hospitality, innkeeping, and innkeepers. After about a year, I realized that my life and interests have morphed from hospitality to helping others navigate from grief and loss to growth and living. In this new version of Introspection, I will be talking about my personal experiences with loss, and there are quite a few, what I've learned along the way through my professional training, as well as from my coaching experiences. I'll also be bringing in guests to share interesting ideas. So grab a beverage, find a comfy place, take a deep breath, and listen in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Introspection. And today I have the privilege of having as my guest Sensei Victoria Whitfield, who has been both a friend and a coach and a spiritual inspiration for me for, I think, the past 8 years. Victoria is the world's first business Reiki master, and that's how we first started to work together. She came and did a workshop at my former inn. And one of the things that Victoria does is called strategic meditation. Back in the day, it was shamanic journeying without substances. Lots of people today talk about shamanic journeying, and they're all using things like ayahuasca or other drugs or alcohol. Victoria doesn't do any of that. And that was really good for me because I'm really a very straight-laced person. And initially, when she talked about doing this strategic meditation, I was terrified. I was so afraid that I was going to go into some deep trance and then wouldn't be able to come back out. It didn't happen. And what has happened is I've learned to do strategic meditation, and it has been mind-opening and mind-blowing. So without further hesitation, let's bring Victoria on and let's talk about strategic meditation. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Oh my goodness. And it always it always kills me to hear how you always thought that you were going to meditate and never come back, right? It was amazing year after year, hosting the retreats at the inn in the wonderful environment that you had created for us, such a nurturing space. And you would come in, and once we would start meditating, you're like, all right, I'm out of here.
And then I would fall asleep.
Yeah. And me go, kisses to him in heaven. He was amazing as a dog at meditating. Just whenever we would go into the strategic meditation, he would curl right up, find his spot, and be ready.
And he moved from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
My dog slept around.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So good to be here, Amy.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to have you here, Victoria. Or should I say Sensei? With respect.
Yeah. So you could call me Victoria. Sensei is just my title. And by the way, Sensei in Japanese means teacher. And I received that title from studying to be a master teacher in Reiki. And for me, it's about maintaining an awareness of my Reiki roots as I coach, right? Wrapping the work that we're doing, the inner work that we do together, in the support of energy work and healing so that we take a holistic approach. But when you talk to me, call me Victoria. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what strategic meditation is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know your focus has changed a little over the years, and I think you've brought it a little bit more down to earth
Mhm.
and less woo. Although I love woo now. I can tell you that, when we first met, and even before that, my mother would talk about stuff she did, and I'd be like, oh, that's weird. I love it now. And I've gotten to experience a lot of things that my mind was definitely closed off from, thanks to you.
Mhm.
So tell us about it.
Yeah, yeah. So strategic meditation differs from regular meditation in a few ways. One, it is meditation that is done first before a targeted action is taken. So it's especially designed for people who want to take action and making sure that they're taking actions that are potent and relevant to the goals and the results that they want to see happen. So, this is a very large fundamental difference because most meditation is about kind of relaxing and tuning out, powering down, slowing down, and that is beautiful and important. And I would categorize that type of a meditation experience more as passive meditation, such as if anyone's ever done like yoga at the end, the part that everyone's waiting for after we're done moving around and also you lay down for Shavasana. That is a passive meditation where you're not doing it before you're about to do something. It's actually maybe done after or to like just to clear away whatever's been going on. So that's one main differentiator about strategic meditation. And then another differentiator about strategic meditation is that there is always documentation involved. So, as an active meditation practice that we're doing strategically before we take a targeted action, we need to document or write down what did we see, what did we notice, and what did we receive so that we know what information is going to support us in heading in the right direction. The whole point of strategic meditation as a practice, I've found for myself, for my clients like yourself, and for those who I continue to teach about the practice now, 13 years in, to and whether I'm teaching online, locally here in New Jersey, or from when I was on my international tour, my national tour, introducing action takers to the power of strategic meditation. The whole point is to make sure that you're pointed in the right direction. That's what it's about. It's essentially about tuning into your own inner compass, like having that sense of, okay, I know that what I'm doing is going to move the needle forward, or I know and I'm connected to trusting my gut so that I know that I'm headed in the right direction in any area of your life. Most of the people who work with me apply it to business because I work with a lot of professionals because they want to know, are we going to hit our goals? But everyone has goals that they want to achieve, results that they want to see in their life. It doesn't necessarily have to just apply to business, but most of the people that I work with are professionals and they apply it in a business context so that they have that holistic and wellness element baked into their work life experience. And so that's how I would give like a short overview of what is strategic meditation. I don't know, is that making sense, Amy? Like,
It makes complete sense. And for people who are similar to me, where it's very hard to quiet yourself down, and meditation, like traditional meditation, doesn't work. For me, I can't sit still. My mind is going in 20,000 directions. And that's like a typical part of my day. So that if I can do strategic meditation and start with a question as to what I want to find out, that helps me focus. And you talked about writing, journaling. Um, I've never been able to remember my meditation and what messages that I get. So I started pretty much from the beginning journaling as I was meditating. And that's been so helpful. Um, just, if you can talk a little bit about the process and how you do a meditation. And also, like, I know that you do two different types. You may do more, but one is where you are guiding people through the meditation, and the other is with drum beats.
Mm-hmm.
And with in groups that I've been in, we're sort of divided on who likes what better.
Yeah.
Some people need the guided direction. I personally sort of like when you tell me to start and then it's like, goodbye, I want the drums. And the drums help me to focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit more on the process and experience of it. So this, and just I want to acknowledge also for any of our viewers or listeners who you've never meditated before, like if this podcast episode you're listening to of like, woo, this is so outside of my realm. I never considered meditation. I'm just sending you love. And with that, I would recommend the guided as opposed to the drums, because to answer your question, Amy, it's especially the two types that I do is kind of beginner versus advanced, right?
And,
So
and definitely the guided helped me at the beginning.
yes,
You need it.
exactly. And so, especially for those who are like, I don't know anything about meditation, I can't stop thinking. You notice when I describe strategic meditation, I said absolutely nothing about stop in thought, because that's not what we're doing here. If anything, I want you to go faster, right? I want you to process things faster. I want you to get to your creativity faster, to understand what's on your mind and heart faster. And that's how strategic meditation works. So the two types then, like Amy mentioned, are the beginner and the advanced. For beginners, for those of you who may have never meditated before, like this is your first time, I would recommend going for the guided. And a guided meditation is essentially just how I deliver it is I will talk you through what to visualize as well as what to ask. So it's a meditation that has prompts assisting you along the way. Kind of like when you are learning to, remember when you learned to ride a bike, you had the training wheels on either side, making sure that you didn't tip over too far to the left, didn't tip over too far to the right. You were beautifully triangulated and supported as you were learning to balance and focus yourself. So thinking of that balancing on the bike as balancing your mind so that you can focus. Sometimes we need training wheels, just like when we're learning to ride a bike initially to get connected, right? There's so much that can be going on internally that can distract us. Our grief, our rage, our annoyance, our body. In fact, there are 4 things in particular that can distract us from being able to follow through on not only meditating, but focusing on anything in general. And I created actually an assessment of the 4 types of noise that stop us from performing called your inner compass exercise. And we could share that. And oh, thank you for sharing that up on screen. If you want to learn more about those 4 types of noise that can stop you from being able to focus, you just text the word compass to 66866 and you take that assessment. And what that's going to do is that's going to show you the 4 different areas that could be stealing your ability to focus and follow through on anything, let alone meditating. So again, that's texting compass to 66866 to take the assessment. So in summary, though, there are things that can steal our ability to focus. There are 4 types, and really quick, it's your head, your heart, your body, and your spirit. Now, I go into that in depth in the assessment, and everybody's is different, right? But an example of the body stealing your ability to focus is you're trying to sit down to have a quiet moment and meditate, but maybe you can't get comfortable in the chair, right? Or you're trying to sit down to call up a friend, right? Or to send an email, and your shoulder keeps distracting you. Your shoulder keeps distracting you, or your jaw, you have a toothache, whatever, something physical, right? A medical thing crops up and then steals. You know, as we all get older, there's all types of things that can come up in our body that can start to steal our focus.
Like the itch.
Yes. Or a flash or whatever you got going on. And this is very important for those of us who want to do this practice of a strategic meditation, being able to clear ourselves and know that we're headed in the right direction, whatever we're doing. It's like, okay, well, where do I start? How do I get focused? So that is a wonderful assessment for supporting you in doing that. But again, for our beginners, I would recommend the guided, because the sound of my voice talking you through different images, thoughts, and feelings can help to pull your attention away from a distraction like pain in your body, for example, and instead deeper into your mind and your heart clearing, right? Or you're getting deeper into your goals and your internal conversation, which, by the way, is another differentiator about strategic meditation. It's, instead of a meditation, I want you to think of it as a conversation that you're having internally with yourself, with your inner truth, right? Finding your true north and being able to talk to it, right? And process through. So that's the beginner version, is the guided. And then the more advanced is, once you're ready and you've found your balance, being able to get focused and tune into your own internal conversation that you're having while you're doing a strategic meditation process, then we remove the training wheels, just like when we're learning to ride a bike, right? And so when we remove the training wheels, instead we support you with the drum. Now, in the opening, Amy acknowledged that some of this practice is rooted in shamanic vision journey meditation. There are many people out there talking about shamanism and going on journeys and smoking the smoke a peyote, drink ayahuasca, taking all types of sacred herbs or DMT or MDMA, whatever they're doing, to chemically modify themselves into a level of focus that you cannot get out of, which I would liken that to essentially strapping you to a rocket ship and just like literally strapping you down and then hitting fire. You have no control. You can't steer the rocket ship. You can't do anything. It's going to go wherever it takes you. It may ram into another planet. Doesn't matter. But you have zero control. And for me, I'm a control enthusiast.
As am I.
Yeah.
Which is why I was so scared.
Yeah.
I mean, at no point during your meditations or journeys are you stuck and can't get out. You can always come back and be completely alert and aware. And that's really soothing and comforting to me.
Yeah.
And I have done that.
Mhm.
There was one, I think it was a narrated journey that you did that um, it was a little too vivid for me. It was like our bodies dissolving into goo and blood, and I just couldn't do it. And so I just opened my eyes and I sat and thought.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is so important for me personally. As a as a trauma and abuse survivor, my ability to feel safe and in control personally, just for myself, is of the utmost importance. And out of integrity, I then apply that to the people that I'm guiding and teaching how to do meditation. And in that um, need for control, and I don't mean like white knuckle control of everything in my life, like perfection, obsession, and paralysis. That's not what I'm saying. But I need to have personally, that's I'm just speaking for myself right now. I need to have the ability to withdraw my consent. I want to give my consent, but I also need to have the freedom to withdraw my consent and say, you know what, I've had enough and
Mhm.
right now because I honor my limits. I've taught myself and learned myself over time how important my boundaries and my feelings are. And so that's why I value a sense of control for myself. And then out of integrity, I apply that then to how I do my work with all of my clients and students. And in alignment with that, I also value sobriety. And when I say sobriety, I mean chemical sobriety, alcohol sobriety, smoking sobriety, food sobriety. I mean, like even shopping sobriety, having the ability to detach from that addiction or dependency, however it manifests. For me, as someone who acknowledges that they have an addictive personality and patterns of addiction that I've released over time, and then some that I continue to work with to this day. Doing things sober is extremely important to me. That is like a top value, and that is how I run my company and all of the healing work that I do. And this is not in any disrespect of how other people approach meditation or healing work and how they use sacred herbs and or how they use chemicals to help improve their quality of life. That's just if that's what you want, you can go to them. Whereas with me, the route is the sober, and I am fully conscious. I am fully myself. I am fully present. I have my own power and I am learning to use my own power, right? And this is not out of any disrespect to anybody else's approach. It's just I take the sobriety route. So for the people who value that, they love that, and for the people who that's not for them, cool. I'm not your guru, and I'm no one's guru, but like just to say that. So with the more advanced route, how we get you to continue the conversation, right, with yourself in that meditation is through monotonous drum beats instead of chemicals, instead of things that can alter you like you're strapped to the rocket ship, but you do need something to help you take flight, right? So that you can focus. And so it's the monotonous drum beat that you can stop at any time or that you can open your eyes and like walk away from at any time because you're in control. And when you hear the monotonous drum beat, I'm not guiding, right? I won't be talking through a series of images and feelings like the beginner route because the training wheels are off. But instead, what now? It's just the wheels. It's just you and the pedals, and that's the drum beat. And you can allow that to take you, just like riding a bike, wherever you want to go. Have whatever conversation or experience you want to have about the targeted action that you want to take and the information that you want to get. And Amy, you're an amazing example of this because you are actually one of my first students who consistently, once you learned how to do the strategic meditation, you're like, I always want to do it with my eyes open, pen and pad in hand. You were one of the first who just always did that as a standard. And it was because of you that I would encourage more of my clients and students to say, this is a way that you can do it. So that way you retain all of the insight and information as it comes to you, rather than just watching it like watching a movie, essentially, in your mind. And then after the movie, going to write down, well, here's what I just watched, essentially.
See, and for me, I've always been jealous of the people who can watch the movie. You talk about your imagination is your intuition, or your intuition is your imagination. And so, we start out with a question, which either you give us or we do it ourselves with the question that we want to ask. And then for me, I don't see a movie. Some people do. I just get downloads of words, of thoughts and whatever that I guess they're probably coming from my subconscious. However, they're not things that I have any control over. And it's quite amazing the clarity that comes from doing this. If I may, last week, I did a journey with you, a meditation with you, and a group of women who I had never met at a retreat, a self-care retreat. And you directed us to go, I guess, into the ocean, or that's what I remember. And immediately I turned the sound of what you were saying off. I knew you were talking, but I sort of it was droning for me so that I could think about what was going on in my head.
Get rid of the training wheels. Yeah.
Yep. And I saw this beautiful coral reef that was multicolored and swimming and dancing in the ocean, and then saw the reef give me a hug. And one of the things that I've learned from you is to look up, what does it mean? What does, if you see an animal who is your guide, who's giving you information, what does that animal mean? What are they telling you? So I looked up what a coral reef was, and I have mixed feelings about it. A coral reef teaches us patience. And for anybody who has been reading my Facebook posts or listening to my Facebook lives, they've seen that the word patience keeps coming up in my life. And I was like, damn, I thought I got this. It was like, okay, thank you. Obviously not. It also symbolizes protection. I thought what was really interesting was that the Victorians loved coral, and they saw it as a protection from the evil eye. And, my inn was Victorian. I love Victoriana, and my evil eye bracelet, someplace in there.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I'm reading my notes. Supposedly, it increases our sensitivity and our compassion to loved ones. It represents the sacred feminine. The hard shell protects us from absorbing other people's energies, which is very important to me as someone who is an empath, meaning I walk into a room and I sense other people's energies and have to remind myself that they're their energy, not mine.
Right.
And you've taught me also to brush them off. Um, Coral, if you see coral in your dreams, and I consider the strategic meditation like a dream, it's protection and telling you that you're safe. And the words that came up were community, foundations, luck, patience, protection, rhythms, steady progress, strength, peace, timing, and transformation, which to me was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm doing. And what I'm trying to help other people do is to steadily go from the losses that they're experiencing into their growth in a steady, patient, calm way.
Oh.
So I wanted to just share that. Um, One of the things also that you teach us is to start at a point, sort of a jumping off point or a dropping down point to go to wherever it is that you're going for your journey or your meditation. And often, and this hopefully will be a segue, and often I see myself climbing up to the top of a waterfall, and waiting for me up there is a circle of my female ancestors, all of the strong women, my mother, my grandmothers, my great grandmothers, and then they push me off.
I love it.
What it is it's, it's a communicating, I guess, to those spirits who were no longer on this earth. And that's how I wanted to sort of talk about how we can use strategic meditation, maybe to communicate with those who have left their physical bodies, but are still with us.
Oh my goddess, yes. This is so important. And I love that you also brought up the entry point. Because for those of you who are listening in, you want to head on over to strategicmeditation.com and scroll to the very bottom to opt in for the how to do a strategic meditation. That's a 3-video training series where I walk Amy as someone soup to nuts how to do a full-on one, so that by the end of that 3-video series, you actually can remove the training wheels. Like, they're ready with the drums. And so this is such a powerful practice for communicating with your loved ones who've passed away. Again, strategicmeditation.com. If you want that 3-video free training, it's free. So you scroll to the bottom and it's there on like it's the first one on the left. But anyway, so how this practice supports us in being able to communicate with our loved ones who've passed away. Now, this, just as a side note, I want to acknowledge differences in beliefs. Okay. So there are those of us who don't believe in an afterlife. There are those of us who do believe in an afterlife. There are those of us who don't believe in a higher power or something lording over us or something. And there are those of us who do believe in a higher power and something else guiding fate or protecting and dictating those things. This practice, I just want to acknowledge, is for everyone. Everyone, regardless of your beliefs that are spiritual, because this is a skill. This is a skill. This is not a belief structure, and this is not some psychic gift that some of us are born with and able to do. No, it's a skill, just like riding a bike. And once you learn how to do the different exercises and movements of the skill of riding a bike. Anyone can do it, whether you believe in the Torah or whether you believe in Muhammad or whether you believe in science or whether you believe in metaphysics. Doesn't matter. Like, it's a skill. If you can do a Google search, you can do this. You do not have to be Christian to use Google. Just, I want to set that before we proceed.
And I want to add that you don't have to be good at dreaming or think you have a good imagination, because when I first started, I don't remember dreaming. We all dream, and not everybody remembers their dreams. I don't remember dreaming for at least 15 years before I started this. And I was like, I don't know if I can do it. You know, I had shut myself down so much after my husband died, and caring for everybody else under the sun. It seemed like that, you know, there was no room in my brain to dream. And yet doing this, my imagination and my dreams came back slowly, and they're there. I'm now dreaming and remembering some funny dreams, some weird dreams. They're happening every night. And my imagination for the meditation has gotten better, more lucid, more vibrant. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Incredible. My goodness. No dream recall for 15 years. And then once you start doing strategic meditation, boom. It's all coming back to you now. So good.
Yeah.
So good. So in the practice of strategic meditation, getting back to what you asked about communicating with our loved ones who have passed away. Remember how I said that this is more so than a meditation, everyone, this is a conversation that you're having with yourself. You know, they always say that it's a sign of intelligence if you talk to yourself. It's true. You're both
the best listener.
That's right. We're both very intelligent women. I'm the best listener for me. Amy's the best listener for Amy, right? So this is a wonderful process for facilitating that. And it works on demand every single time, right? It's the same way that once you learn how to ride a bike, you can ride a bike and it take you from A to B on demand every single time. I mean, sometimes you may need to change a tire, but if it's a working bike, you can do it, right? So with that, one of the practices that you do when you are doing a strategic meditation, or another way that we call it is a journey, either way, that's journey is more based in the shamanic roots of it. Strategic meditation, if you don't want to base it so much in shamanic roots, it's the same practice. It's just a culture change, right? Or a terminology shift. From there, one of the practices that we do when we are doing a strategic meditation is we ask questions of our teachers and guides, right? So using the power of your imagination, which is deeply tied to your intuition, you will visualize or image. Everyone's imagination is different. Think of 5 different senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, right? So for sometimes we hear more to imagine, for others we feel more to imagine, for others we see more, for example. But using the power of your imagination, you'll see a guide, a teacher, a helper of yours. And you will have a conversation back and forth. It's a 2-way conversation, the same way that Amy and I are talking right now, right? There's a 2-way conversation that you will have. It's not just something coming in and telling you what to do. No, you can ask questions and go back and forth. And essentially, like, there's so much deep psychology that we can go into around the subconscious and what these helpers and guides represent in you and in your psyche. We don't have enough time to play in those waters, but if you want to, go ahead and reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about it. Love having those conversations. But for the sake of brevity, you have a helper or a teacher or a guide that you are imagining actively having a two-way conversation with. And I'll put it on me. In the earlier days of learning to do this practice for myself, I didn't do it initially to improve my ability to perform and focus and take actions. I was doing it to heal from very deep sexual trauma. And so what I would do is I would call up specific forms of helpers or teachers to talk me through that and help me process that internally. And I feel a little emotional and joyful as I say this. One of my helpers was my grandma. She is passed on. And in the meditation, using my imagination, which is deeply tied to intuition, I would call up the image of my grandma, a woman of incredible strength and courageousness, a wicked, crazy sense of humor, died in the arms of a man that was her legendary love. She was a truck driver. She was just like a wild, awesome, brilliant woman who would knock a fool out who messed with her, right? Just power and spice and just strength. And talking to my grandmother who had passed on. Now, that helped so deeply for healing me and gave me strength. Now, where did that come from? That again, that's a beliefs conversation, which is entirely separate from the skill conversation that we're talking about, right? So the skill conversation is, do I know the exercises to go through in order to get to talking to that representative of my grandmother in my psyche to help me work on my sexual trauma and release and process it? Do I know that skill? Versus a separate conversation is that really my grandmother? Is there an afterlife? Or is that my psyche and all of the sum total of all of the memories that I had of interacting with her that are somehow compiled and represented in an image of her in my subconscious? No, which, by the way, the subconscious brain deletes nothing in your whole life. Everything you've ever been exposed to is in there.
And you know what?
Yeah,
Does it matter? Does it really matter?
exactly. I say no, but
I say no too. I think it's the experience and the information that you get.
yes,
That's what's important.
yeah,
The healing or the answer to the business question, you know, what should I do next? Or, you know, like, I can't even think. I downloaded an entire list of guests to have on the podcast because that was my question. I had been sitting with that question for weeks and could not do anything. And then we did the strategic meditation and I just, and I think I had 30 something things
in 10 minutes. So wondering for weeks versus 10 minutes and boom, you got it. So
right.
That's exactly why, like the differentiation, because for those of us, you know, you and I, Amy, we get it. But for our sisters and brothers who are listening in and all our trans fam who are listening in, they may not fully understand it because some people have like a beliefs or like new things. Immediately the ego says, I'm going to reject it because it's going to hurt me or get me in trouble or is out of bounds. It's hot lava.
It's different.
Yeah. And honoring that, let's just honor and accept that. But to understand that the point is, what do you want? Do you want the answers or not? Because if you focus on cultivating this as a skill, you will get the answers on demand every single time, whether it's for personal, professional issues, spiritual, health. Like, it doesn't, for me, I decided I want the answers. I don't care if it's me or if it's grandma or if it's freaking
The coral.
a coral, a whale. I don't care. I don't care. A jackal. My main guide, I talk to a jackal, and he's 13 feet tall. Getting over myself, thinking I can't do that. That's wrong or bad or blah blah. I was raised evangelical Baptist Protestant Christian, so this is so not so not allowed. And I decided I want the answers. And so for someone who has lost an identity, lost a loved one, and wants to know if they're all right, right? Lost a piece of themselves, or someone who's going through loss, you want answers.
And direction. And so you can ask the questions for direction.
Yeah.
Whether it's from a loved one or from the whale or the jackal or the coral who comes up. Yeah. My first guide was, I'm trying to remember, she was this little character from one of the Disney movies in the forest, and I called her Wendy, but she had like a red cape on and she was little and a hood. And she came, she was sweet, she wasn't threatening, and she gave me answers. I asked the questions and she responded. So, and now, while we were talking, and people may think that I'm nuts, and that's okay, you can think what you want. I feel that my husband, my late husband, Steve, has been with us in this room, sitting on my shoulders or pushing my shoulders down, which is how my intuition tells me that I'm on the right track, that he's there, he's behind me, he's got my back. Yes. And I know that there are those out there who are going to resonate with this. And there are others who may say, okay, she's gone off the deep end. And I have a hair that I can't get rid of. She's gone off the deep end, and that's okay. Stay tuned to another podcast where we talk about something else. Yeah. This has been so important in my life, which is why I wanted to share it with all of you. That it's brought me, first of all, it's brought me back to dreaming. It's brought me back to having an imagination. It's helped me know that what I'm doing is I'm on the right track. It's brought me connections with other live human beings, as well as connections with the women in my life. And I wrote a poem for those of you who are interested, and I published it in Facebook on International Women's Day. It was a poem written to my daughters about how they come from a long line of strong women, and telling them that they are also. That would not have happened had it not been for strategic meditation or journeying, whatever you want to call it. It has, after my husband died, after my mother and stepfather passed, And then also after my best friend passed, I was closed, I was depressed. And doing the meditation has helped bring everything together and brought me into a much more creative, much more, um, I have a much more positive outlook on things. If you notice, I'm wearing color. That was from my trip to Mexico. All of that started with the strategic meditation and Sensei Victoria. So thank you. I think we need to sort of close this, and I hate doing that because I love talking with you. I could talk to you for days. Is there anything that you would like to say that you haven't had a chance to? And I'm going to ask that we put back up your website and the text for information links, so people can find you and can get help, assistance, guidance with moving on to a new way of getting information.
Yeah.
I do want to say before you speak that one of the things that I learned was how important it is to trust my intuition. It was a very expensive lesson, emotionally as well as financially, when I didn't trust my gut instinct. And doing the meditation has helped me feel my intuition so that I know when something is hitting and follow it. And I can say that I don't think I will ever make that mistake again. I can't guarantee it. Life's not a guarantee. And I learned.
Yeah. Oh. So this, I'm just so grateful. Like every time I hear you share how much this means to you, Amy, and it just brings back all of the memories of the years that we've worked together and how much I've witnessed you just transform in your life. And like it brings a tear to my eye. I'm like trying to hold it together. And what I would want to say is what's coming in for me is that you don't have to lose your glow. And you don't have to lose it forever. So this is for our listeners, for our viewers. Maybe something has happened that has stolen the glow, the light of your creativity and exuberance, your sense of adventure and curiosity. Maybe something has happened, whatever it is. And my heart just opens and surrounds you if something has happened. And there are ways to return from a loss of light. There are ways to return from a loss of light. Like I said, for me, I came to this after I was an adult when my sexual trauma happened. But this could be not just for sexual trauma, for loss of life, right? Loss of job, loss of identity, loss of a sense of control. There are ways that when the pilot light gets blown out for whatever reason, right? When disaster strikes, there are ways to turn it back on, right? And bring that light and warmth back into, right, the home of your heart and mind and body and spirit. And I know for me personally, this was something that helped me turn my light back on over time. And I see that for Amy, for you as well, this is something that helped Amy to turn her light back on and find that sense of creativity, exuberance, curiosity, expressiveness, and joy again as a regular structured skill and practice that you can do that has expands all belief structures. It's something that supports as a skill. And so if I'm just am hearing guidance to say that you do not have to lose your glow. You don't have to. Yes, the pilot light got blown out. I understand. And it does not have to be gone forever if you are ready. If you are ready to have that pilot light turned back on so that you can get cooking again in life in any way that works for you, whether it's cooking in business, cooking in your body, your love life, your artistic expression, whatever that means for you. This, I know for me, and for Amy, was a skill and a practice that really helped to bring the light back again. Yeah, this was definitely something that, and you can do it on your own or you can do it in groups with us, right? Whatever feels comfortable, but it's another level of journaling. So for sure, reading and journaling and going for healing or prayer, counseling, all these things are absolutely important. But this is another beautiful practice that can reinvigorate your creative spirit from the inside out, and you have 100% control over it on demand every single time. So if you want to learn more about it, you go to strategicmeditation.com, scroll to the bottom for the training series there. And if you are listening in and you don't have time to type out that whole URL, go ahead and take the assessment to see, all right, well then what are the 4 things that are stopping me from being able to continue to progress, to perform at my highest levels, to express myself? What are the 4 things that are really preventing me from being able to do that? And you just open up your text application and text just one word, compass, to 66866. Again, that's just the one word, compass, to 66866. You'll put your email in there and it'll email you the assessment right there if you want to take the assessment. But especially if you're looking to learn this practice, and to walk through it, you would go to strategicmeditation.com. Scroll to the bottom and we'll see you there.
And do it. Thank you so much, Victoria. Hope to have you back again to talk more and maybe to do a meditation with people.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you all for listening and watching, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks. Take care. If you liked what you heard on this podcast and want to hear more, please follow us and tell your friends. You can also find me on Facebook at Amy Lindner Lesser, Grief to Growth Life Coaching, and on LinkedIn at Amy Lindner Lesser.